You know when people say, you'll just know when it's right? Yeah. I knew nothing. At the time, I'd been single for almost 2 years. I'd survived a messy breakup, sworn off dating apps twice, and developed an intimate relationship with my couch and Netflix. My friends had started to worry not because I was lonely, but because I'd begun talking about fictional characters like they were real people. Then, one evening, my friend Lila grabbed my phone and downloaded a dating app for me. You need human contact, she said, swiping through profiles like she was choosing avocados. And no more guys who think emotionally available means texting back before midnight. A few days later, he popped up Jordan. His profile picture wasn't one of those overly filtered gym selfies. Just him, smiling, holding a mug of coffee, with messy hair that looked like he'd given up halfway through styling it. His bio said, "Good listener, bad dancer, expert at reheating leftovers." I laughed out loud. We started chatting that night. For weeks, our messages were like a daily ritual. He'd send me voice notes where he sounded genuinely happy, that kind of voice that's warm even through a speaker. He was witty, but never tried too hard. He'd ask questions that went beyond the usual small talk like, what do you think people misunderstand about you the most? Or if your younger self met you now, would she like you? That one stopped me in my tracks. I thought, okay, this one's different. So when he finally said, dinner this Friday, I said yes without hesitation and then proceeded to panic for 48 hours straight. I got to the restaurant early, this cute little Italian place downtown. Dim lighting, a tiny bar, a smell that made you instantly hungry. I was wearing a white blouse and black jeans, my safe outfit. You know, the one that says, I care, but not too much. He walked in right on time. I noticed 2 things immediately. He looked exactly like his pictures, and he had that same warm, slightly nervous smile. He gave me this awkward half hug, not too close, not too distant, and said, wow, you're actually real. We both laughed, and I swear, from that moment, it just flowed. We talked about everything: family, travel, music. He told me how he'd been learning guitar for 2 years and still couldn't play Wonderwall properly. I told him about my failed attempt at yoga, where I'd accidentally fallen asleep mid-pose. It was easy. Then came the spaghetti. Look, I know ordering spaghetti on a first date is bold. It's basically an invitation for chaos. But I was feeling brave, and Jordan said, you can't go wrong with classic pasta. Famous last words. When the plates arrived, I swear it was like a scene out of a rom-com: cozy lighting, candle flicker, 2 people smiling across the table, until he tried to twirl his fork like he was auditioning for an Italian cooking show. The spaghetti had other plans. A single noodle flew across the table slow motion and smacked right onto my white blouse. Red sauce. Big stain. No survivors. We both froze. He gasped. I blinked. The world stopped spinning. Oh my god, he said, panicked, I'm so sorry. Then, in what I can only describe as a full-body meltdown, he grabbed his napkin, dipped it in his water, and started dabbing my chest. Wait, no, oh my god, Jordan, stop. I said, laughing and trying to pull back while he just kept apologizing. The waiter appeared beside us, completely expressionless, like a man who'd seen this happen far too many times. He handed us extra napkins silently, then vanished like a ghost. I was laughing so hard I couldn't even breathe. Jordan looked horrified, like he'd just been told he'd failed humanity. He muttered, I swear I'm not usually this clumsy, and I just said, it's fine. I needed a new blouse anyway. Crisis averted, right? Wrong. He decided he'd make it up to me by ordering dessert. Very sweet idea. Except when the waiter returned with 2 perfect slices of tiramisu, Jordan turned in his seat to make a joke, knocked his elbow against the tray, and sent both desserts flying. I'm not exaggerating, one hit the floor with a splat, the other landed on my shoe. The restaurant went silent. Even the music seemed to pause in sympathy. And then, I lost it again. Just uncontrollable, can't he breathe, tears in my eyes, laughter. Jordan's face was so red he could have matched the spaghetti sauce. I swear I'm cursed, he said, half laughing, half dying inside. When the waiter came back, he looked at us, sighed, and said, you 2 want another round? On the house. We eventually walked it off outside. I think something shifted then, like, once you've hit peak embarrassment together, there's no point pretending anymore. We were real people again. No filters. No pretending to be perfect. We sat on a park bench nearby, under this flickering streetlight, sharing stories about our worst dates. He told me about the time he accidentally called a date by his boss's name. I told him about the guy who tried to split a $9 bill with me using a calculator. For a while, we just talked. No pressure, no expectations. I remember thinking, maybe disaster dates aren't such a bad thing. And then, because apparently the night wasn't chaotic enough, my car wouldn't start. Dead battery. Of course. I wanted to sink into the asphalt. I swear this never happens, I muttered. Jordan just smiled, rolled up his sleeves, and said, good thing I'm an expert at bad timing. He called roadside assistance, but while we waited, he went to a nearby 7-Eleven and came back with 2 bottles of Coke and a bag of chocolate chip cookies. Dinner part 2, he said. We sat on the curb, eating cookies, laughing like idiots, surrounded by the faint smell of motor oil and regret. And for some reason, I felt happy. Not the butterflies kind of happy. More like the quiet, maybe this is real kind. Eventually, the tow truck arrived. Jordan helped jump my car, made sure it was running, and walked me to the driver's side. Before I left, he said, "Next time, I'll cook at home. Less chance of property damage." And I told him, only if I bring the fire extinguisher. We did go out again several times, actually. No flying pasta, no cursed desserts. Just two imperfect people figuring it out. I don't know what the future holds, maybe it's something, maybe it's not, but I do know this, that night taught me something important. I'd spent years chasing perfect. Perfect hair, perfect outfit, perfect first impression. But the truth is, perfection doesn't make connection, humility does. Laughter does. Showing up, even when you've got sauce on your sleeve, that's what makes it real. So if you ever find yourself on a first date that goes horribly wrong, if you spill, stutter, or embarrass yourself beyond belief, take a breath and laugh. Because sometimes, the messiest moments turn into the best stories. And who knows? Maybe they'll even turn into something more.